Today on the bench we have a vintage Rolex 6694. It was sent to me by a viewer who asked for it to be serviced. He said it only runs in certain positions, and weekly at that. I'll give this movement the full treatment, with the hopes of restoring this beautiful movement to be a reliable timekeeper once again. Kivon also provided me with an aftermarket bracelet to fit, and was nice enough to include the replacement crystal as well. Let's dive in. It doesn't look bad for a watch that's around 60 years old. The dial shows some patina and the lume on the hands are discolored. As agreed to by the owner, neither of these will be refinished in any way, so that it retains its authentic vintage appearance. Its favored position is dialed down, and it immediately stopped when turned over. Since it at least runs a little when placed dialed down, I'll see how it performs on the time grapher. Never a good sign when the time grapher plot looks like snow. Two tabs hold the movement in the case. After removing them, the movement can then be removed from the back. This is interesting. At first I assumed it was a crack, but it's actually a scratch on the inside. I'm now loosening the two screws that secure the dial to the movement. The date complication is a simple design. This raised piece here on the date drive wheel moves the date ring once per day, and the spring catches the wheel to cleanly select the date. However, this simple design means there's no correction mode to quickly set the date. It's time to let the power down from the main spring. And here's the culprit. The balance staff appears to be broken. I'm guessing at the top pivot. This little screw secures the hairspring stud to the balance cock, and now I can lift the cock away separately from the balance wheel. This is the good pivot, and it looks to be covered up in dried up pea soup and cat hair. The other pivot? Well, it's gone. Let's get to work and start by levering off the hairspring, taking note of the position of the stud. I'll want to reinstall it in the same position later, or the watch won't be in beat. This balance uses a double safety roller, which means I'll need to use my Rex roller removal tool. These beaver teeth grip down to hold the balance in place while the staff is punched free of the roller. I take note of the position of the roller jewel relative to the arms. Later, I'll reinstall it in the same position to maintain the poise of the wheel. Next, I'll use my K&D staff removal tool. Since this is a riveted staff, I can't just punch the staff out or the arms of the wheel will be deformed in the process. The tool presses and secures the arms to the anvil during the punching action. I film all my videos at night. It's late spring here in South Carolina, and if you listen closely, you can hear the frogs singing. The new staff is riveted to the arm using a series of taps from a domed-faced punch, followed by the flat-faced punch. The roller is friction fit onto the lower end of the staff in the same orientation it was before. Next, the hairspring is reinstalled in the exact orientation it was before, so the watch remains in proper beat. I'm choosing to remove the cap jewels prior to cleaning so the fluid has better access to the hole jewels. Now the train of wheels can be disassembled. Another shock spring. I'm still not entirely comfortable with these, so I have my trusty Rodico handy to prevent additional donations to the Swiss space program. With the train wheel bridge removed, I lift the second, third, and fourth wheels and the escape wheel. The pivots are inspected under magnification for any damage. Next, the barrel bridge is removed, which allows access to the mainspring barrel and the winding works. Removing a couple more tabs helps separate the main plate from the movement ring. Back to the dial side, I remove the date ring spring lever, followed by the rest of the keyless works. The couple of cap jewels on this side of the main plate are also removed prior to cleaning. The train wheel cap jewels receive a drop of Mobius 9010. The balance cap jewels are also oiled with Mobius 9010 before being reinstalled. A little bit of Mobius D5 can be used in the keyless works. Now I'm installing the setting lever screw. It needs to be thread into the setting lever while I'm holding the lever on the dial side. Always a fun step to film. I'll apply some more D5 before proceeding with the rest of the keyless works. Molykote DX grease is used for sliding metal on metal contact points, such as where the yoke pushes against the setting lever. A bit of DX grease is also used where the winding pinion faces slide against the clutch, and some is also applied to the stem itself. The train wheels and bridges are now reinstalled. Each of the train wheel pivots are oiled. I use Mobius D5 for the center wheel and 9010 everywhere else. This wheel friction fits on top of the third wheel arbor and drives the sweep second hand arbor. The friction spring provides downward pressure on this arbor, ensuring consistent contact with the drive wheel, and this prevents the sweep second hand from appearing jittery. The crown and winding wheels are now reinstalled. With the center wheel in place, I can now install the cannon pinion. Mobius 941 is applied to the faces of the pallet fork stones. The balance wheel is reattached to the cock by securing the hairspring stud to the fixed stud carrier, while ensuring the spring lands between the regulator pins. That's always a good sign. Hopefully I'll have a clean time grapher reading and all that's needed is to regulate it. That looks pretty good, and this is with the regulator set to how I received it. The beat error is a little higher than factory, but that's because I had to visually estimate the hairspring collet orientation when it was reinstalled. With a slight rotation to it, I was able to get the beat error down, and then I tightened up the regulation a bit. Now to place the movement back into the movement ring. The hour wheel and date drive wheel are reinstalled on the dial side. With the date ring in place, I can reach to the window to situate the index. I like to press on the hour and minute hands while they're aligned at midnight. Special care is to be taken to ensure this is coordinated with the rollover of the date. That crystal came off a little too easily. The aftermarket bracelet provided with the watch doesn't quite fit the case. It took quite a bit of finagling to even get it on. Kevon can always replace it with something else later on, so it'll work for now. The tabs are now reinstalled to hold the movement down in the case. Some of you are thinking, but Chris, you didn't demonstrate the water resistance of the case. And you're right, because I'm not set up for that. I relied on a nearby shop to source and install the new seals. I also don't own a Rolex caseback tool, so I also depended on them to tighten it down for me. As an amateur, it's not always necessary to own every tool for every possible watch you work on. It's okay to depend on others for help when you need it. I want to thank Kevon for sending me this watch to service on camera. I hope it serves him well for years to come. And I hope you all learned something from this video today, and if not, I hope you at least found it enjoyable. Thanks for fixing watches with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.